Hello all, I am Shushrut Shekhar, the Business Analyst and Scrum Master Real-Time Trainer. In this video, we'll discuss about role of an IT Business Analyst in development and how they work with the technical team and what they do. Please do hit the subscribe button, the like button, and please do share this video. Let's go to the training. So this is the feature that we were discussing about, okay? So right now in the system design document, what will they do? They'll convert the business requirement document into the system design document. And who's dictating the business requirement document? It's entirely dictated by business and approved by business. Even if you propose something as a business analyst or a project manager, it's up to the business to say yes or no. Hence, who's dictating the business requirement document in its entirety? Business, right? Since the business requirement document is going to be dictated by the business, and the system design document is going to do nothing but give a system description of the business requirement document, who is dictating the overall requirement, that is also business, right? So now, as per the system design document is concerned, first thing we'll do is we'll provide a mock-up. We'll give a mock-up here for understanding purpose. Why are we having a mock-up here? Because currently we don't have this donut chart, right? We are just reverse engineering. I'm just taking this up for our reference. But then currently we don't have this donut chart in place, correct? So we have to have a mock-up. We have to put a mock-up here, and then we have to put this checkbox and all. Whatever new features we are building, we have to put a mock-up of that. And then I'm just naming that section as loan purpose revenue generation chart because that's the name given here. It says the customer profitability analysis page will have a donut chart. The chart will include the parameters operation line, refinance, and interest. So this is operation line, this is refinance, and I'm just thinking maybe instead of blank I just put it as interest. So in system design, this is where they will dictate that this indeed must be a donut chart. So who should dictate that? Developers. Okay, the system design itself is dictated by the developer. It's supposed to be dictated by the development team. There will be a session called joint application development session, which we'll discuss about later in depth as to what happens in the joint application development session. But in that session only they'll dictate all these things. How are they dictating this? So how are they dictating this first line? So what will the developers do? They'll go into the business requirement document and they'll see JPC shall provide the ability to view loan purpose revenue based visualization, has to have 12, 13 and 14. Okay. So loan purpose revenue based visualization, it should be filtered based on all these years. And it shall display shall display operation line revenue. So JPC shall display operation line revenue in the loan purpose revenue visualization. JPC shall display revenue refinance revenue in the loan purpose revenue visualization. So these two entities are also coming into the picture. So now they read through all these things and then they'll say, okay, why not come up with they'll read through all those functional requirements and then they'll come up with the donut chart and then put this operation line, refinance, interest, all these check boxes and all that. So there will be year check boxes for years 2014, 15, 16. So this whole, okay, this year, so they'll just say the requirement is that the chart must be filtered based on the year. Now, who's going to say that it is indeed going to be the checkbox? Developer or development team. This is a very important area to understand as a business analyst. You'll say that if I just convert that into a rudimentary example, you will say that, okay, if you go to a coffee shop as somebody who's going to take the order, so you'll go as the waiter, you'll go and you'll ask for the requirement. They'll say, I want some hot coffee. Okay, you'll just write hot coffee and you'll go back and you'll give it in the kitchen, right? So how will they make it hot? Will they use a microwave or will they actually use the gas stove or maybe some other mechanism and make it hot? How will be taken care of the development team? What do they want will be taken care of by the business and captured by the business analyst. Hence, the same principle applies here. That's exactly what we are doing in IT too, but we are just glorifying it because it's kind of there's some more technicalities involved. But at the end of the day, it's just an evolution of that. So whatever requirement does the business want us to fulfill, that requirement must be captured. The how to fulfill that requirement, whether it's a donut chart or a pie chart or a bar chart or maybe something else apart from these charts, but it is a chart. They have said it is a chart. We need something in a visual format. That's it. But how, what kind of visualization, how and what must be answered by the development team. And that it should be dictated in the design document. Now, this begs the next question: who will be writing the design document? The design document will be most definitely must be by theory written by the developers. But then, are there cases where the business analyst will be made to write the design document? Yes. In my organization, for the longest time, I wrote the design document. Till now, I am writing design. In fact, I am dictating design till now. I am literally dictating design. Whatever design that I capture, the developers are coding. Now, if they ask you to come up with the system design document, should you come up with the system design document? I mean, are you obligated to come up with the system design document? Is it your responsibility? The answer to that question is no. But if you come up with the system design document, will you become more attractive to the job market in the long run? The answer to that question is yes. So since it's adding more skill set to you, go ahead and start documenting all the system design document, provided the opportunity comes to you. Document it so that you'll get some more knowledge, and in the long run, in the very next interview, you could with conviction say that I did the system design document and this is what I did. You could say it with conviction. You can also bluff, that's different. But then when you've done the work, you could talk with conviction, and that's really good, and in the long run that will be very beneficial to you. Okay, so in so now what, so any questions so far? I think I've talked a lot without any gap. So any questions? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, so what else is there in the system design document that you have to know? So the revenue data comes in through a batch, get revenue info, that runs on a weekly basis. Okay, so these kinds of batch related technical information will also be there. So in this application, the revenue info for this, let's say for example, this data is not even there, this revenue data is not even there currently. Moving forward, the revenue data will keep on coming in through a batch process. We'll discuss what batch process is. Just think about it this way: there is a process that will bring in data from another database into our database on a daily basis. Okay, and this is how we'll discuss about batch in the system session. We'll go into it we'll go into it in depth. Okay, but then just think about it this way: there is a process that will dump all the data in our database from another database. It is dumping all the revenue related data on a daily basis. Every day 12 a.m. in the morning and midnight it will run and it will dump all the data. So the revenue data comes in through a batch process. The name of the batch process is get revenue info. I just said it runs on a weekly basis. It could run on a daily basis or a hourly basis also. Data gets migrated from branch revenue database from excess database. So from this database, branch revenue, to excess executive decision database. So I just put exec decision. That's how the names will be. So this will give you some familiarity how the database names look. So the data is, so if you are transferring data, there should be source A from which it is getting transferred from, and there should be source B where it should get transferred to. That is what this is, database names, right? And this is how you capture it. This is the name of the database, or this is the name of the table, I'm sorry, revenue. This is the name of the table and dot column of the table. This is the name of the table and this is the column of the table. These two are different tables in different database, by the way. From this table br column to this table ed column, right? So this is what is called data mapping on a very high level. Name of the table dot name of the column, or you could also do it this way: name of the database dot name of the table dot name of the column to name of the database dot name of the table to name of the column. Exactly which point is the data coming from and exactly which point it is going to. That is called data mapping. That information will also be there in the system design document. Are you supposed to document all these things? No. If you document it, will you get knowledge? Yes. So if you do document it, and if you do it wrongly, do you have the license to do it wrongly? Of course, yes, because you're not supposed to do this and you're just giving out a helping hand. So it's a very good opportunity. Okay. What other information will be there here? API related info. Okay. Google Map API. So it says the you could just put the figure in here if you want. There is a snip tool. Let me use the snip tool. We use Snagit. It's a much better tool. This one, it's really frustrating on so many levels. Try snip and sketch. Okay. So now let's assume that we are coding for this. Let's just reverse engineer again. So this is the Google Map API. Okay. We'll discuss about what is the API in the upcoming system session. But then even other technical details like API related info. So the mockup for that and all that will come. I don't want to go into API because I think it will confuse everyone. I don't want to go through that. We will discuss about APIs in depth in the system session. But then each and every design element will be captured in the system design document. That much you have to understand. Okay. So in the case where you are coming up with a new table, this is how you will capture it. Okay. This is loan purpose revenue. This is loan, this is purpose, this is revenue. I don't know what the last word is, but this is the name of the table. So it has the columns revenue ID, operation line, refinance, miscellaneous. So I'm just capturing the table for this. So this donut chart must be driven by the table, right? It should be driven by a table. If there is a table containing all the info, only the table can drive this donut chart, right? It cannot come into existence without a table full of data. Correct? This is the table. Loan purpose revenue table. And these are all the columns: revenue ID, operation line, refinance. So all the elements that are mentioned here are given in operation line, refinance, miscellaneous. So everything that is given here, they are all stored in columns. These are all different columns. This is the name of the table. This is exactly how they'll capture this information in the system design document. And you should be able to do this. If you are able to do this, then you can call yourself business system analyst. You know, even if you don't know to do this, you can call yourself business system analyst. I've seen system analyst, senior level staff, they don't even know how to run SQL queries, but they call themselves system analyst. They are not developers, they are some management staff, but then they for some reason call themselves system analyst. But they are management folks, they don't know technicality. So if you know all these things, it's very good actually. So this one you can learn, right? Don't you think? You could do some SQL queries and you could learn all these things, right? Or you could just say this is just to, you could go to the developer. You might ask, the developer might keep some other names, how can I dictate these names? You could say, okay, I just put it to start the discussion. If you want, you can change it. So you could write review, add a comment in there. These are just to start the discussion. Just add a comment in there like this. This would suffice, right? So this is something that you should be able to do. So any other questions? Any questions? This is the system design document. No questions? You're good? Okay. Okay, so right now we are done with requirements gathering and business requirement document. We discussed everything. Okay, so what will they do? So once you come up with the business requirement document, you will send it out to the business for review. If there are any mistakes, they'll rectify it and change and send it back to you. You will make those rectifications, you'll resolve those rectifications and send it back. What will they do? They'll approve it. Okay, and then what you'll do, then you'll go into the design phase and you'll come up with the system design document which we discussed right now. And let's discuss about other things that will happen in the system in the design phase. Okay, so design phase, what is the design phase? So design phase is when you will convert the high level requirement into low level requirements, high level requirements into low level requirements, so system or business level requirements into system level requirements. What is your role? So if the developers have some questions on the business requirement document, you can explain it to them. That's called internal walkover session. So during this phase, the business. So what will happen in the design phases? There will be a session called joint application development session. That is when they'll actually convert the high level requirement into low level requirement. And as a business analyst, you will be giving some. If they have any questions, you will be answering those questions because you have knowledge on the business requirement document. And if they don't know something, they're really struggling with it, you'll give something called the internal walkover session, meaning you'll sit down with them and you'll explain this. Like you'll explain this line by line. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. Business and functional requirements. You'll explain this line by line. It is called walkover session. So if somebody is going to ask you for directions, what will you do? Go here, go there, go there. Likewise, they know they are kind of struggling. The expectation is that if a developer receives a requirement document, they should be able to come up with a system design document. But then there are developers who just don't understand all these things. That point of time, what will you do? Walkover session. Okay, come sit down. This is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. Okay. So there are cases where I've sat down with 5 or 6 senior developers and then they'll tell me to explain all these things. But then in reality, I'm not obligated to do so. But somehow they'll force me to come to that meeting and then they'll make me explain all these things. And when I'm explaining all these things, they'll put me on the spot and they say, what is this? What is that? So they're just putting me on the spot. So in my organization, they do all these beautiful things. But then you have to be bold. If they do all these things also, you have to be bold and you have to be able to answer these questions. It's pretty common for all these things to happen. Then so there'll be 4 or 5 developers and then everybody will be there and then they'll say, what is this? So why have you documented it? Why have you documented this way? Why not another way? All these things will come up. And in my organization, I also used to do the system design document by myself. So they also ask me these questions. So why is it a donut chart? Or they'll ask me, if we check on this checkbox and if we click on say, why are we displaying that error message? And then I'll explain the business reason behind that. I'll explain how exactly it should be done when it comes to the systems level. Click on this click on this button and then error message is displayed. Why is this happening? The reason is, as per the business, this is the problem, so we have to resolve this and hence there is an error message. They'll say, why not this way? Then we have to have an answer for that. So I used to do all that. So if you are able to do all that, it's well and good, but then at the end of the day, you are not obligated to explain the developers all these things. A developer, if they see a business requirement document, they should be able to understand everything. We don't have to babysit them and explain everything one by one. It's not school or college. It's not your obligation. But at the end of the day, if they do ask you to do that, you're doing it as a helping hand. You're giving them a helping hand. It's not something that you're obligated to do or it's not your responsibility. You're just helping them out. So that is something that you have to keep in your mind. Generally, when new BAs come into the market, they'll just tell them, all the developers will tell them, okay, come and explain this to me, explain that to me. It's like you're not somebody's assistant. You don't have to go and keep explaining and explaining it just because they want it, and it's kind of an if they ask it to you in an obligatory manner, you don't have to help all the time. You can always say no, right? As long as there is a requirement document, they should be able to understand it. You could say, send me an email, I will respond if you have any questions. You could say that. So what I'm trying to say is, explaining or giving a walkover session is not your responsibility. Okay, it's just that you are giving them a helping hand. That's it. That is something that you have in mind, because many BAs, they don't know this, and when people tell them to explain stuff, they get nervous. So you don't have to have that nervousness, is what I'm trying to convey, especially if it's going to be your first role as a business analyst. uh, this might come into the picture, so always keep that in mind somewhere. I'm sure that it's going to help you.
So, regarding the same example, in this case, we are just taking enhancement request, but the case may be that you have to create a full dashboard itself, right? Instead of enhancement, it is even the beginning, and it's a full dashboard. I'm assuming that we have to write everything, like all the graphs and all which you have mentioned in the same dashboard. Example, all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, along with the KPIs you have mentioned in the 1155K and all that. This is kind of a mock-up. So it's a Power BI dashboard, right? So if I know Power BI dashboard, shall I make the mock-up in dashboard, or I do the Snagit, or do like how should I present it? Because the expectation in the current job in my thing is they want the mock-up. So I mean, I'm instead of donut, I can make pie also. So what if tomorrow they say why pie, why not donut?
Okay.
So how do I justify?
So that's a good question. So as a business analyst, you are not even supposed to zero in on a donut or a pie chart. So you should only document that the system must be able to capture loan purpose revenue generation in a visualization format. That's it. In a chart
In
format.
the okay, but the okay, it just because that's how I have to negotiate. I want to understand like how, if they say the format should be well defined beforehand, before it is passed to the development team, how they have to build, it shouldn't be in discussion later, like whether it is a pie or a donut or what should I make. So the understanding in our team is like BA only mock it up, make a prototype, and pass it over to developer, and they will just execute it based on the data.
That's what is happening. But you're right. That's what is happening in my organization too.
Exactly. Yeah, so half of the work, it's like not half, it's like mostly 80% I am doing. It's just they have to create it. No creativity, nothing. The same, the way it's just passed on to them, they're just doing it and it's done. That's how it shouldn't be done, right? I mean,
You are bringing up a very important point, right? So that is what is happening in my organization too. So this is a very important point. Okay, so look, when they say we need a donut chart or a pie chart, they are not supposed to ask that. Okay, so generally this is theory. So whatever we are learning is theory. This is theory.
hmm,
This is so each and every organization will follow it to a certain extent. So my organization might be following it around 55 to 60 percentage. In your organization, they might be following it from 70 to 80 percentage. But then some organizations, they might follow it to the mark, to the point, 100 percentage. But then each and every organization, they'll only follow it to a certain extent. They will not follow it 100 percentage. So that is something that you have to have in mind. Even in my organization, what they say is we need a donut chart. They will not even say the business requirement. They'll right away come and say we need a donut chart. Put it loan purpose revenue generation. The data will come from this database. Okay, are you good? They'll ask. I'll say okay, that's all that is good. But then what is the business purpose of this donut chart? Can you tell me? They'll explain it, and then sometimes they'll say don't waste our time.
yeah, same, yeah.
I'm not wasting your time. I want to know the business purpose. We can break the code and send it to production. if we don't know the business purpose. Because only if you know the business purpose, you will be able to check whether this donut chart is messing with some other code or not, or messing with some other business process flow or application process flow or not. If you don't know the business purpose, the application process, if you don't know that backstory, we might send broken code into the real time environment, because we don't know why this is
Correct.
coming up, right? It will not look good. They'll again blame the IT. Nobody will take responsibility. Majority, they won't take responsibility. They'll say somebody, they'll point somebody out. So at that point of time, they'll openly say, you are wasting my time. And then I'll say politely, yeah, but then I want to know the business process, because that's how it's supposed to be done, and I want to understand the current process flow. Only if I know the business process, I'll be able to understand all that. When I come from a referee kind of a standpoint as to this is what the methodology is and this is how it is supposed to be done, and when I put out those statements, then they'll respond with answers. But then when you do it very politely. You don't want to feed them straight lines because they are the clients. Or if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Sometimes they'll say, I'll go to an analysis meeting, and the business will say, no, I want to come to this analysis meeting. They'll break into that meeting, and then when I'm asking basic questions, so what is this page doing? What is the business purpose of this page? So just use this page and show me. I want to understand how you use it. Suddenly the end user, they'll stop the end user and say, you are wasting my time. I'll say no. So as per the process, I want to understand the current business process flow and current application process flow, so that I am familiar with everything before the requirements meeting. I cannot go into the requirements meeting with one line, send a friend request. Enhance the friend request mechanism. With that one line, I cannot show up to a requirements meeting where there's going to be so many high level stakeholders. So I literally said this to the face actually. And then she said, okay, no problem. You can ask all your questions. So so the answer to your question is, sometimes they'll tell you to, they'll ask you for a donut chart or a pie chart. But then if that's the case, and if they are only following it 60 to 70 percentage, don't disturb that. Just say, okay, let it be a donut chart or a pie chart. If you want, cross check with the developer. But then that's okay. They are breaking methodology, and you are capturing the donut chart or pie chart, and you're also cross checking with developer, just to be on the safe side. But then you should also ask the business purpose of it. That is something you have to know, right? So you have to come to that negotiation, and you have to come to that mid level where you also get whatever you want. Has to be a
Yeah.
bargain.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So sometimes when you go into an organization, so I'm calling it business requirement document because that's what the theory tells me. In my organization, they call it RDT, Requirement Design and Testing Document. It's a comprehensive document that will contain the requirement, design, and testing. We'll document all the three together, and all the three will be written by the business analyst. I was talking to another client from Toronto. She was working in a bank. She cracked an interview in a bank. I think it's called TD Bank or something. She said they call it keystroke document. Okay, and some organization they might call it something else. So when they suddenly tell you, give me a keystroke document, I won't know what is that. Okay, you can always ask, so what is that? Is it a requirements document or a design document? What do you expect? Can you send me some templates? Okay, so when they suddenly throw a jargon at you, you don't have to get nervous. Just have this in the back of the mind. You know the theory, you know what is a BRD, you know what is a system design document. Okay, so you know more than what you're supposed to know, so you don't have to get nervous, and different names are used. So that is something that you can have in your mind. Okay, I think I've given too much info. So so let us get back to the path. uh, so so what will happen in the JAT session? You'll be facilitating, and you'll be explaining them stuff if you really want to give a helping hand. And then the business requirement document will be converted into system design document. So there might be 2 or 3 joint application development sessions, and over a period of time the business requirement document will be converted into system design document. And once the system design document is ready, just like the business gave a sign off, the development team will give a sign off to this document. to this document. They'll give a sign off, and then they'll say this is approved, we can code. So the tech lead must do it, either the development lead who will lead the developers, or the tech lead who will lead the developers and testers. That person will say, I'm giving you a sign off, saying it's not an action, nobody is signing anything, it's just an email saying that we can code for this, we are good with this. And then they'll start coding in the development phase. So this is how it is done, right? And what is external walkover session? So this is something that I want to cover. In my organization, they will only give the requirements. Okay, so they will give the requirements. They will also dictate the design. So they will also dictate system design document. They will approve both the business requirement document. The business will approve both the business requirement document. System design document, only the developers must approve. Tech lead must approve. But then in our organization, business will approve the system design document also. And then once they approve it, to after we start coding and towards the end of UAT, they will forget whatever they gave, whatever requirements they gave, they'll forget. Okay, then they will not even read through this BRD. They will not. Okay, if you forget something, if you read through the BRD, you will, if since you have given the requirement yourself, you will be able to understand what needs to be done. And if you read through the system design document which you have dictated, you should most definitely be able to understand. But they will never do that. What will they do? They will contact the BAs, and the BAs will again give them a walkthrough as to what is being coded. Or so right now, towards the end of the UAT, the code will already be in the system environment, right? Or the integration environment. We have to demonstrate and show them what we have coded. Now they'll understand, oh, okay, now I remember everything. Thank you. That is called external walkover session. So, walkover session, internal walkover session, you are giving it to the IT team. Okay, somebody doesn't know, you go and explain. External walkover session, you are giving it to the business. Are you obligated to sit down and spend 1 or 2 hours of your time where you are charging $100 per hour? Are you obligated to do it? No. You can always give out a helping hand. But then if the business is going to ask, you cannot say no. You don't want to say no right away to the business. Okay. So who and all will be a part of the joint application development session? Technical analysts, testers, developers, testers, business analysts, and if required, even the project manager will take part in the joint application development session. Okay. And system level requirement document will be ready. We'll come up with mockups. We discussed about this. So this is the system design. This is what will happen in the design phase. So the BRD is getting converted into SRD, and then SRD is approved by the tech lead or the developer lead, whoever it is. And we'll also come up with, as a business analyst, you'll also come up with the development log and development report. Okay, so this is the development log. So now these loan versus revenue is an enhancement. Okay, drop down is another enhancement name. So who's coding for loan versus revenue? Bill. Okay, on the 1st of June. So this is called development log. You can create it in an Excel document. So what is names of enhancement? Names of the developer who are assigned to that enhancement. Percentage completed on a weekly basis. So every week you'll come and ask, so Bill, how much have you completed? The Bill will say, I've completed. So now this is something that you have to know, right? During the development phase, so whenever, if you are asked to gather status, never ask anyone, did you finish this work? Never ask that. Or never ask anyone, how much have you completed? Okay, because that is, at least in North America, it is not considered very polite. It's considered to be inappropriate to ask someone, did you finish something? It's considered to be borderline inappropriate. But then, which I've made that mistake, and it will not go well. So instead of that, I've seen even senior level staffs asking other senior level staff, So you'll ask like this, okay? So can I say you have completed 30 percentage, and then Bill will say no, you can make it 20 percentage. You know, likewise, every week you'll ask, okay, can I say you completed 40 percentage? Then Bill will say no, make it 45 percentage. I've completed 45 percentage. So that is a better way of phrasing yourself. If at all you are asked to facilitate status meetings, this is how you have to ask. But then you come up with the development log or development report, this document, during the design phase as a business analyst, if at all you are asked to do so. Okay. Okay, so this is the design phase. So this is what will happen in the design phase. Any questions? Okay. So next is the development phase. Okay. So this is when the developers code for the enhancement. So what is the role of business analyst in the development phase? So they will assist the developers to become familiar with the functionality. So you discussed about this. If they have some questions, you can always sit down and explain. Same thing with the testers, and prevent scope creep and scope increase. So what is scope creep? Requirement is to come up with a donut chart, but they are coming up with a pie chart. That's scope creep. So what is scope increase? So scope increase is when, so say for example, suddenly during development phase the business will come and say, I want another donut chart, can you do it? That is scope increase. You have to prevent it. So when the business is going to give you scope increase and say, can you come up with another donut chart, what will you say? The business requirement document is approved, the system requirement document is approved. So since, and we have already started coding, so it's too late to take this up, hence we cannot do this. But now they are saying, no, 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 it's very important because a regulation law has been passed, so we have to have this donut chart, please do something. Then you have to say, let's do a project change request or a change request. What is a change request? You'll actually note that down in the RDT and say, I'm sorry, in the business requirement document, and you'll say, we are taking this change request up. Okay. So now if you are going to take up the change request, now they need another donut chart. That's a change request. If you are taking that change request up, you have to document it in the BRD, and you have to add a note saying that it is indeed a change request. And there will be another change request column in the business requirement document. You have to add that all these things are change request. It came in during so and so date. And then since we are doing a change request, the timelines must be modified, right? Because if we are delivering it on Friday, if that is going to take 5 days to code and 3 days to test, you have to have another 8 business days in your hand. So the timelines must be modified and the business must approve that timeline. And in the case where, so we are all contractors, right? Sometimes contractors cannot work after a certain time. My contract is ending on the 31st of August. I should not be working the very next week, right? Because my contract is ending. So they have to take care of all those things too if it's a major change request. So budgeting must happen. Budgeting, you will not be taking, you will not take care of it, but then that will be done by the project manager. But then you have to be aware that that is something that needs to happen. So all these things must be documented in the business requirement document. So but then you have to try your best to prevent scope creep, or I'm sorry, scope increase. If they come up with a change request, you have to try your best to prevent it. So unless and until it's really, really critical, you have to always say no to change request or scope increase. Another way to say it is scope increase. So you'll be facilitating status meetings or daily stand-ups. You'll be resolving conflicts if any. And during the development phase, so yeah, we discussed about all these things. So next is, what is this? Okay, we discussed about this. Okay, next this one. Okay. So monitor whether there is any risk present when it comes to the work to be done. Right now, if there is going to be any risk, meaning, so where is the development log? Okay. So now, if it's going to be for one day or so, let's say the release is going to be on 22nd of July, right? But then till 15th, only 40 percentage is completed. So now there is a risk. You have to be monitoring this. Or sometimes some developers will not even code; they'll just come and say 5%. If it is government client, nobody cares. They can literally say, "I'm sorry, I cannot code for this. I'm not in the mood." If it is a government organization, if they are state employees or federal employees and all, even if they are IT folks, they have a lot of protection. So they have a lot of job security. I would say too much job security. But then, but then they can literally say, "I'm sorry, so only 5% is done." So that time you have to say the project, this enhancement is at risk. That is what you have to monitor whether everything is going on right and whether they are delivering that enhancement on time. So meaning, so when they code for this donut chart, very first thing that they'll do is they'll just ask you to do some sort of a smoke testing very quickly and just to check whether everything is all right. It's not a very intrinsic testing, but then they'll just check. Okay, they'll just say, okay, just check this on a very high level if it's okay or not. So the once the developer codes for it, they'll just tell the BA to test it. That is called unit testing. You'll not be testing any other elements. You'll just be testing this unit in like 15-20 minutes. You'll do a quick smoke testing. So that is something that you'll do during development phase after the coding is done. So if it is a new team, you will assign tasks to the assign tasks. So if it is a new team and the project manager is not even on board, the project manager is not present, it is a new team. For some reason, the project manager is not in office. At that point of time, you will be assigning the tasks, since it's a new team, if it's a medium level experience team, they themselves will divide the task. Connect the developer or tester to a subject matter expert if need be. So suddenly a new developer enters into your team. So that person, he or she doesn't know the architecture. They can't just come in and start coding right away. Correct. So what they'll do, they need some knowledge transfer. At that point of time, if there is another developer who has 10 or 12 years of experience, you can always connect the new developer to the experienced developer so that the knowledge transfer will happen. Or if a new developer is struggling with something, they are not able to finish their task, if they come and tell you that, you could always connect that. Or if they just tell it in the status meeting, you can always connect that person to another developer who's a senior level developer, and then who must be a subject matter expert, and then they'll help the developer out to resolve that conflict, and then finish the coding. So that is what connecting the developer or tester to a subject matter expert is. Communicate with external team if there are external or internal dependencies. So if there are some dependencies present, so say for example, if this is a donut chart and there are some we need to do some data migration, and then but for some reason we don't have any informatica developers, right? So only if I have so let's say we don't have the data for this donut chart, it has to come from another database, and then we also need to make it make it in a conducive format for visualization. So we need some Informatica developers to do it, but then we don't have any Informatica developers. We have to depend on that for with another team. In that case, somebody has to coordinate that, right? Somebody has to coordinate the dependency. Somebody has to contact the other team. Do you have any developers? Do they have any bandwidth? We need to get this done. It has high priority. That coordination has to happen, right? If there is an external or internal dependency, meaning that's external dependency. Same thing other way around. Internal dependency is when you are doing it with another team in your own organization, or if it's going to be another organization, it's going to be external. If it's going to be your organization, it's internal. So so in the place where I work, there are two entities. One is protective services, one is licensing. Correct. Protective services, licensing. So sometimes protective services might have a dependency with the team inside protective services. But in the case where they have a dependency with the team, that is in the licensing, that is external dependency. If it's within protective services, that is internal dependency. But again, dependency, the word comes into the picture if there's going to be another team involved. Somebody has to coordinate all these things, right? Go talk to another organization, another team, and explain everything. What's happening? Why do you need, why is there a dependency? What help do you guys want? And how is it going to be budgeted for? Because you have to pay for each and every hour. So all those things will be done by business analyst. Because why is that? You are the liaison, right? And you have to keep the project manager updated on the work that is being done, right? So you have to, sometimes my project manager, my I used to report to another manager. Now the current project manager is kind of micromanaging, but then I used to report to another project manager. He won't even know what and all enhancements are going into production. He'll ask me 1 week before the UAT, so what and all enhancements are we working on. So in that, if that's the case, because he's handling multiple teams, that's the reason. If you are handling multiple teams, you don't know what's happening in each and every team to the dot. If that's the case, you have to keep the project manager in sync with what's happening. Okay. So we just have one more slide in development phase. I don't want to overload everyone with information. So we can just call it a day. But if you have any questions, you can ask me. Whatever topics we cover today, if any questions are there, you can feel free to ask me now.
Hi, regarding the system design phase, can we go to the dashboard once again?
Yeah, sure.
The business says like they're not sure whether they want a donut chart or a pie chart because you go to the developers and discuss regarding the business required documents saying this is the one they want, but they don't know like which one to choose, which chart, whether the pie chart or this donut chart. At this point, like how do you decide what is correct and what is not based on whatever the developers say, or like when you're not sure about yourself, like how would you handle this?
So what I'll do is, they are not the by theory, the business is not even supposed to say it's supposed to be a pie chart or a donut chart. Only the developers must
Yeah.
decide that. Okay. And now the
Okay.
business is also coming forward and saying we don't know. So they said they don't know. So I'll just go to the developers and ask. So what do you prefer? I'll also say I will suggest a donut chart. What do you guys think? So if the developer, whoever is going to code for this, is going to say, yeah, donut chart is going to be good, we'll go with donut chart. If the developer will say this is bar chart, okay. If the developer is going to say bar chart, then we'll go with the bar chart. Since business doesn't have an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
we can do it ourselves. I'll recommend to the developer. I'll recommend something to the developer, and if the developer is okay with it, we'll go with that.
So at this point, like once you decide, you go back to the business people and say that this is the one that we are recommending or we are doing it.
If you want, you can say that, but are we supposed to say that? No. But if
Okay.
you want, you can keep them on sync. If they really want you guys to come and notify them, you can always.
Uh-huh.
But by theory, you don't have to tell them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So generally, they have a requirement, and IT will give a solution. So that's how it works. So we document the requirement and we give the solution. And sometimes they have some comments on the solution. So generally, IT will just go and okay, you don't want, so for some reason you don't want a donut chart, you want a pie chart, we'll take it into account. But then as long as all these things happen before the development phase, everybody is safe. But once once they're going to start coding and the business is coming back and then saying, and all these things must happen before the documents are approved. Once it's approved, period. No change. No, there is no scope for any change. That is something that we have to be very clear.